Hi guys, Penny Rose Journals, how you doing? Okay, today we're going to make some beads and we're going to start with these 3 straws. Yeah, you don't need 3 straws, you just need a straw, but I just happen to have 3 here on the desk. Now I'm just going to make some paper beads to start with, and it's going to be very simple. All I've done here basically is tear the borders off of book page, and I'm going to roll it around the straw and glue it. So yeah, very simple way of making a bead. It's a little fiddly to get everything tucked in right at the beginning, but once you get going, yeah, it rolls up quite easily. I like to put a little bit of glue when I begin, and obviously glue the end so that it doesn't unravel again. And then once I've got them rolled around the straw and glued and everything, and I am sure that they're glued securely, I'll slide them off the straw and just pop them on a little stand that I've made out of a piece of styrofoam and some toothpicks. You'll see that sort of turn up eventually. Yeah, and then I will cover them with a little bit of matte medium or something just to make sure they're securely glued down. Now these great big long beads, if you like, I will then cut into smaller beads once they're dry. So yeah, not a very exciting process, but you end up with a bunch of little paper beads in a very short time. So I'll do a couple of those just so that you can see, and then we'll move on to something else because I would like to make some fabric beads as well. Now this probably looks incredibly fiddly. It is a difficult kind of process to get the length of a page securely started when you're trying to roll it under. Sometimes it tries to sort of loosen up as you go. So yeah, it's a bit fiddly right to begin with, but as soon as you get that first sort of roll going, you can roll it up quite quickly. And obviously, you know, we're finishing it off. You just need a little bit of glue to secure it, and then once it's secured, you're good. You're good to go. Good to slide it off the straw and move on to the next one. So there you go, one huge long bead. I'm just going to I'll do one more for you, and then I will come back and yeah, show you what I do to them next, basically. You could do this with any kind of paper. The thinner the paper, the easier it would be to get it started to roll up, I guess. I'm just using book pages because I simply like book page beads. I think they look very cool. So, but yeah, you could use any paper, magazines, even whatever you like. But yeah, I have just got a few book pages here that I want to use. And once I've cut these up, I'll just put them in a little container, and then I've just got beads hanging around. So you can make quite a lot of them in a very short period of time. This is just a tube of matte gel medium, and yeah, I'm just going to brush it onto these little, well, these big long beads. And as I say, I've made this little stand. It's just a piece of broken styrofoam with some toothpicks shoved into it. Does the job perfectly. So I will paint my bead with some matte medium, and then I will just stand it on a toothpick, and they will just stand there and dry while I get on with other things. My apologies, it's a little difficult to see what I'm doing here, but basically when I have to paint the other end, I just stand it on the toothpick and place my finger over the end of the bead and paint upwards. I just don't want to hang on to the piece that I've already painted because it's sticky, and I do not enjoy sticky. Well, there they are, all painted with matte medium. You could paint these with paint or whatever you wanted to do, to be honest. But I just enjoy them as they are. So I'm going to let these ones dry, and we'll move on to something else for now. Okay, I have a pile of scrap fabric here. This is just out of my scrap fabric drawer that lives next to me. I just grabbed some random stuff. Now we're going to make some beads out of this. I am going to use this wire you can see here up on the right hand side. I strip wire to obtain this. This is copper wire that I've pulled out of electrical cords. You can use whatever wire you can get your hands on. You could use string or cotton or whatever you wanted, but I'm using this wire because I have been sitting around stripping wire this week, and I've got quite a lot of these little bundles of wire. So I felt like making some beads out of it. It just is a very easy thing to use to secure your bead. So all I'm going to do is start wrapping strips of fabric around this straw. I'm going to keep a hold of them in the hopes that I can keep them nice and tight. I'm just going to wrap little strips over strips just to give it a sort of a layered look. I usually use about 3 different colours. I've used a piece of this ribbon, and I'm using some of this crochet sort of ribbon. I'm not really sure what you call this stuff. I inherited a bunch of it because I had a grandmother who used to make crocheted lace coat hangers out of it. So it was just lying around, nobody else wanted it, so I ended up with it all. And once you've got all the fabric on there that you want, you just wrap it with either cotton or string, or in this case wire. And when I get to a point where I think I've got enough wire in it, I'm just going to twist the 2 ends together and press it around the bead. Again, this is very thin wire, so it's easy to cut with scissors, and it's easy to just squish into the side of the bead and won't poke anybody. But it's probably fair to say you just have to be careful with the end of the wire because it can get quite sharp. You don't want to be stabbing people with your beads. But I'm just winding it around here, and then I will, once it's secured together, I'll just squish it around the bead and we're done. And we have a bead. I'm going to leave these on the straw, And what I tend to do when I make fabric beads like this, because they're not secured on the inside, I will thread a piece of wool through my straw and then just pull the beads off onto the wool thread so that they've got something threaded through the middle of them so they can't unravel on the inside. You could glue them, I just don't bother. I just make them like this all the time, and I've never had any problems with them. But yeah, you could glue your sort of original piece, this ribbon, to make sure that it doesn't unravel on the inside. But again, because I make them like this around a straw and can thread them onto a thread without having to sort of poke it through the bead itself, I've had no trouble with them. So it's a case of doing whatever it is you think will work for you. So anyway, we're going to make a few, and then honestly, I make a lot more than I'm going to show you here. But I will leave you with some photographs of all the beads that I make today at the end of this video, including the paper beads. But we will get back to the paper beads once we've made a few of these fabric ones. I really like using this copper wire for this because, well, it's an easily obtainable resource to start with. Doesn't cost me anything. I just use old cables from around the house, and it's very thin and also very pretty to me. I love the colour of it. I think it's a gorgeous colour, so goes with just about everything. But you can buy wire. You can buy wire from the craft store or many electrical stores if that's what you would like to do. Yeah, I kind of enjoy stripping wire, so go figure. Right, well, now that I've made 3 beads on this straw, I'm just going to grab this thread. It's just old wool that I've got in a grab bag from a thrift store. I'm just going to thread it through my straw. It may or may not thread easily. This time it decides it's not going to, so I have to get a needle, just to sort of slide it through. Once I've got it through, I will leave it on there and leave it through the straw once I've got beads on it, and continue to make beads with it inside the straw, which makes things a little bit more challenging, but it's not too bad. It's not too hard. I just leave it in there because I don't like rethreading it all the time. I'm going to tie a big wooden bead to the end of this just to secure it so that none of my beads fall off once it's hung, because usually what I'll do is string a few beads on there and then tie a knot in it and hang it on the end of my camera stand, to be honest. So I've got all these fabric beads hanging off the end of my camera stand that I've made over time. They're in easy grabbing distance if I happen to want to use them while I'm crafting that way. So and then I'll just keep on making beads and sliding them off, and we will have a bunch of beads on a string. So I make about, as you can see here, about 3 at a time, then move on to a different colour because I get bored very easily. Luckily, because the straw is smooth on the inside, it tends to just sort of turn around the string, so we don't get tangled up too much. There is a few moments where, I get things sort of wrapped around each other, but it's, like I say, it's not too much of a drama. You just have to watch what you're doing, I guess. Okay, that's enough fabric beads for the moment. I'm done with that, and we will get back to those paper beads and start cutting them up. I do cut up a couple on camera with a box cutter knife business. Yeah, look, honestly, to be honest, with these ones, they're quite thin. I prefer to cut them with scissors, it's just easier. Aside from the fact I think my blade's a little blunt, so they don't cut that easily. But yeah, you can use a pair of scissors to cut these if you wish, which is what I end up doing with mine. But I think the couple that I just cut up on camera, I just use a box cutter to do. So yeah, cut them however you like. The beauty of them is you can cut them to any length you want. If you want particularly long beads, you can make them long. If you want very short beads, you can make them short. With the glue on the outside, the matte medium, it's very well secured, so they're not going to fall apart even if they're very short. But yeah, here we have a couple of little beads as I sort of tear this one. Again, like I say, I think my blade's a bit blunt, so it doesn't work out that well. But yeah, sort of squish them at the ends, make them neat and tidy, and you have a very simple little paper bead. So that's it for the beads today. I'm going to leave you there. I'll leave you with a photo of what we have made, and yeah, go make some beads. It's kind of a fun way to spend an afternoon. Thanks for spending your time with me today, guys. I appreciate your company as I always do, and I will see you again next time. Bye.